We're up to Ois Vav. Make a quick summary of that which we learned up till now. So the Rebbe basically was asking the two ideas in the verse, Va'ata Yisrael, Mo Hashem Elikecha Shoel Me'imach, which we say it's a level of, represents a level of small, something minor, because we're saying, Mo, what is it that he's already asking of you? And then we have the Gemara interprets ma meaning mea, meaning 100. 100 is the 100 brachas that we make, and the question is, seems to be uh, conflicting these two. Ma is shows on a small number, and mea is a complete number. And also, how do we connect this? The Gemara says that it was instituted because the 100 brachas that we say every day was instituted because people were dying. So the Rebbe asked, so what were they doing from the time of the Pasuk when over there they came to the level of Liyiras Hashem, even without the Meya brachas, only by David HaMelech is when he instituted it. So how did they get to that level of Yirav? But the Rebbe went in to explain what is the idea of brachas. And basically, a bracha brings from min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam, from alma diskasi and alma disgalia. So first, the Rebbe says in the Kabbalah, the different levels there is on the spiritual level, and the Rebbe brings this down later on from the Sarusa de Latata, what it means by the person, by a Yid who serves the Eibishter. What does it mean, and how does it influence that when he takes from his hidden from his diskasya and brings it to the isgalia. The Rebbe brings down that one, there is the idea of bringing it, bina is considered isgalia, is iskasya, and malchus is malchus is isgalia. So bringing it down from bina and malchus receives from zo. So the Rebbe, so that's one thing, bringing it from Bina down to Malchus. So then you have bringing it down from Havaya to Havaya, which means from the Almodis Kasya to the Almodis Galia. And the Rebbe says in Avodah Sodom we have the two uh, aspects over here. You have the aspect of bringing it down when you bring down the B'chol Nafshecha. The Rebbe teaches this is the B'chol Nafshecha, to bring it down from the level of Moichin in the Midas. That's the Almadis Kasya, as we're saying, the Bina, the Moichin that brings about uh, the understanding, the emotion that there is also is B'chol Nafshecha. It's not only Levavcha. So that's the level of bringing it down from Iskafia to from Iskasia to the level of revelation and of being b'midah shebelev, and that's why it's b'chol nafshecha. Also, the level includes the level of moichin, or as the Rebbe brings down, also to further down in mispashet from the lev further down, and so that's the corresponding. That's the sarusa de latata that brings from bina to the level of Malchus. Then we have the other idea of Chol Nafshecha, which is the level of Mesiras Nefesh, that's more than B'chol Levavcha, and that already is a Zerus Tato, which brings the idea of Mesiras Nefesh comes because of the Hasaga, which is above you, and that leads to the level of Sevev to come down to Mamali. That's the Sarusa Delatata for the second level. And in order, the Rebbe says, to accomplish that from the Sevev to the Mamali, we need a higher level. So that we need to bring in the level of Yechida, of the Neshama, to be the Sarusa Delatata. And then we have the level of Atik, which allows for the level of Arich, for the level of Almodis Kasya, to come down into Almodis Galia. And that's the power of the makif of the Yechida. So you have the Yechida is the equivalent of being Mamshich Atik. The Chaya of the person, that's bringing down Arich. And the Naran, that's the Koiches HaNefesh, that's the Bina and Zoh in the Malchus in the Pnimium. As the Rebbe explained in detail inside, this is just a very brief review. So now we'll continue with Oizvot. Zehu shahatakon levodich meya brachas b'chol yoyim hoysa davki kshemesu b'chol yoyim meya nefashos. So now we'll understand why was the takone of the 100 brachas. The Rebbe asked, why was it instituted only when the people were dying? David HaMelech, that's when they came up with, that's when David HaMelech instituted to make these 100 brachas. And the Rebbe explains, because we were saying that the idea of brachas to really be mamshich into from the level of chaya into the level of what is the brachas accomplishing? The brachas accomplishes, as we said, to be mamshich through Mesiras Nefesh, through the level of Yechida, which is the level of Mesiras Nefesh, to be mamshich the chaya into the Naran. And when Yidden, what brings out the essence, the chaya of the person, it's Mesiras Nefesh, as the Rebbe said. So therefore, when there were 100 deaths every day, that's when it was revealed that level of Mesiras Nefesh, of that level of Yechida. Kegilui koyach ha-Mesiras Nefesh hu al yidei ha-halomes v'ha-hesterim. Because the revelation of the power of Mesiras Nefesh, which is the revelation of the Yechida of the person, is when does the Yechida start to come out into the open, to function in the openly, is when it's blocked, when there is blocks and obscurity. That is the idea of 100 people dying, as he's going to explain. Vapi hayedua, and also based on what is known, Shabizman Hagolus, that in the time of exile, so you see that Mesiras Nefesh comes out more when there is obstacles, when there is challenges, difficulty. Because based on what it's known, Shabizman Hagolus, Ubefrat Bedorodi Kvisa Meshicha, that during the time of exile, especially in the times of Ichsa de Meshicha, which means when things are difficult. Generally, Golus is a difficult time, but especially in the generation of the hills of Mashiach, when it's even more difficult. So now the Koyach HaMesiras Nefesh Shubegilu Yosem Bizman Habayis. The power of Mesiras Nefesh is greater than it's in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. So what does this tell us? That when is there a revelation of Koyach of Mesiras Nefesh? When there's greater difficulty, when there's more obscurity. So when there is 100 people dying, that is the deepness of Golus, of exile, in which the Malach HaMoves and the Satan are functioning very strongly. That brings out a deeper level of the neshama, the yechida of the neshama, and that's v'lochein hatakone levorich meya broches hoyso davke la'achrei shemesu kuf nefoshes b'chol yom, and that's why the instituted to say the 100 brachas was only after the 100 people died. That is when they can really have these brachas, these hamshachas, which is to bring down. We need the Mesiras Nefesh to bring down, to be the Sarusa de Latata for the Sarusa de Le'ela, to bring down the level of Baruch Hashem, the level of brachas to bring down from Alma Diskasya to Alma Disgalia. The fact that every day 100 people died. The Meya Nefoshes who Shleimus Hamispar, 100 Nefoshes, meaning that's the complete number. That was a total sort of destruction, because 100 people who mipnei. So why did 100 people die? Mipnei shahoyu oz b'matzav dehepach hacherus memalach hamavos, because they were in a condition, a situation where they weren't free from the malach hamavos. The angel was working overtime. I mean, they weren't free. 100 people died. Now, the Malach HaMavos, that's death, but death is very closely associated to the idea, it's very closely associated to the idea of Yetzer Hara, who are Yetzer Hara. If the Malach HaMavos is working overtime, I mean, he's killing 100 people, that means that the Yetzer Hara is there strong. So that means it was a big nisyonis. It was like, in the time of in Golus itself, it was a very challenging time. And through this, at that time, the power from Mesiras Nefesh was awakened. That's why they instituted then to make 100 brachas. Why? Because now that we have the level of Mesiras Nefesh, we can have the real Meya, we can have the 100 brachas, because Shal Yodom Nase HaChibur the Sevev Umamale, because the brachas are the ones that connect Min HaOlam Ad HaOlam, that connect the Sevev and the Mamale. So, which means the Sevev Mamale, and also by the person, connects his Yechida, his Chaya, with the Naran through the Gilui of the Yechida. Shal Yodom, through the Brachas, Nase HaChibur, the Sevev Umemali. That through them becomes the connection of Sevev Umemali to bring down the Sevev into the Mamali to connect them. Why is that? Ki al yidei gilui koyach hamesiras nefesh shemitzad hayichida. Because through the revelation of the power of Mesiras Nefesh, which is from the Yechida of the Neshama, the Sarusa Dilatata of the Yechida of the Neshama, which is the Mesiras Nefesh of the Neshama. And the Gilu of the Mesiras Nefesh of the Neshama is through the Helam Vehester. So, because there is the revelation of the Mesiras Nefesh, Shemitzad HaYechida, Nase Hamshochas Atik. So that brings down the Atik, which is higher than Sevev and Memali, higher than Arich and the Malukul Almin. It's the Chitzonis HaKesed and Malukul Almin. We said before, then you can bring down Atik, makes and connects that Arich should be able to come down into the level of Memalukul Almin. Nas Hamshochas Ha'alef, not of Zev Malkai, they Gilui Koyach HaMesiras Nefesh Mitzad HaYechida Nase Hamshochas Atik. That makes up for Atik to come down. The Atik, the Yechida of the Neshama being revealed, brings down the Atik, the level of Atik, higher than Ishtalshlus, which is Ha'alef Demeya. As we said before, the Aleph represents the level of Atik, because this is the Ein Sheni Loi, this is the level of Aleph where there's just Yachid, that's the level of Atik. That is Bechinas Chad V'loi B'chushbon, the level of one, which is not part of an accounting, is just Chad. V'al yidei zeh nasa hachibur, the ma, and that brings about the connection of ma, which is the level of memali. Umeya seviv, and the level of seviv, which is a level of arich, the level of seviv, level of chitzenis from keser. Al tikri ma elo meya. Don't have it ma memale, but have it meya, which is the level of seviv, complete through that aleph, which is the gilui of atik, which is higher than seviv male, which is the level of, by the person, it's the level of yechida. Yechida is mesiras nefesh. That's why it can bring down that level of aleph, the level of atik, into the level of meya, so that the arich will connect with memale and accomplish the bringing down of seviv into memale. And the Rebbe brings out now another point that pizeh yesh levair. Now that we're saying that you need a level of yechida to bring about the level of atik, the ma'eder, this also will fit in with the idea of tshuva, because tshuva is also a level of mesiras nefesh. That's the level of tshuva. And the tshuva also brings down the level of yechida, which brings down the level of atik, which allows for the connection of seviv umemali. So now we can also explain according to this the saying of the Medrash. The Medrash says, "Ein va'ata ela loshen teshuva. Va'ata ma Hashem elkecha shoel me'imach." So he says, "Va'ata" means is a language of shuva. Shenemar. So the Medrash brings the posik from our posik. Va'ata Yisrael ma havai elkecha shoel me'imach. Since the posik is saying, "What does Hashem ask of you?" and the Medrash says that this pasuk is basically tshuva over here. So we have this idea that this is the level of tshuva. So how does tshuva fit into this whole idea that we said before with the brachas and being mamshich from the level of yechida in order to bring down that it should come down into the naran from the chayat and naran? So, it's known that all interpretation that share the same posik are connected to each other, moving. It's understood. That the Eibishter is asking from you, ma, which is the 100 brachas that we were discussing before. So that means Shaykh Lina Tshuva, that has a connection to Tshuva, because now we're saying Va'ata. Va'ata is Tshuva. So Tshuva brings down the 100 brachas. So what's the explanation? What's the connection to Tshuva? The Kivon Shehabali Tshuva Koiv Shimes Yitzram Yoser Ma'atzadikim. The Bali Tshuva need to control their inclination more than the Tzadikim, which means they have a greater level of obscurity of challenges. So how does the person able to stand up against the inclination? Well, is by remembering Mesiras Nefesh, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. So you see that Mesiras Nefesh is associated with Bali Tshuva. And Lochein, and therefore Iker Gilui Koyach HaMesiras Nefesh. So therefore the main revelation of this power of Mesiras Nefesh, which is again the level of Yechida of the Neshama, is Hu B'Bali Tshuva. So mainly is by Bali Tshuva. That's why is Va'ata, specifically about Bal Tshuva, they have this level of Meya, the Seviv into Memale, which is the level of Atik Nisoiders through the level of Mesiras Nefesh that the person has. V'zo Va'ato Goimer mo havaya lekecha shoyel mimach. And this is what it says, mo havaya lekecha shoyel mimach. The idei gilu hamisiris nefesh al idei tshuva, through the level of misiris nefesh, which comes through tshuva, ועתה, efshar liyas in the mei brachas. That's how we can have the 100 brachas. Mo havaya lekecha shoyel mimach. What does Hashem ask of you? The mea, the 100 brachas. Just like the Rebbe explained earlier, that why Dafke by David HaMelech was there the idea of the Meya Brachas? Because by David HaMelech in that time, since there were 100 people dying, so there was the Malach HaMovis and the Yetzer Hara there. And because of the challenges, it was the Gilu of the Koyach HaMesiras Nefesh, which is the Gilu HaYechida, which brought about the Gilu of Atik, which is Nimshach in the allowed, that's the Aleph, which allowed the Meya to come down, the level of Arich to come down into the Koiches Panimiyim. Similarly, is also now that we're teaching is Va'ato, is level of Tshuva. By about Tshuva, we have the level of Mesiras Nefesh. We have, as because it takes Mesiras Nefesh to overcome the Yetzer Hara, and therefore that is Dafke, which causes and brings about the level of bringing down the level of Atik, the level of Aleph, and that's when we get the Meya Brachas, the 100 Brachas, which is the level of Atik in the Koiches Pnim. But now the Rebbe is going to say, so according to what we learned till now, Ma is the lower level, and that's the level of Pnimius, and you have to bring down the level of Makif into the Pnimi. So the Meya is the Makif, and the Ma is the Pnimis. But Bechlal, the Rebbe asked, Bechlal, when we have a Kri and a Ksiv, the Ksiv, the written is Ma, and the Kri is the not what's clear, but it's the way you pronounce it. The Ksiv is usually on a higher level than the Kri. So, but in this case, the Ma, we're calling it Al Tikri. Al Tikri means don't pronounce it Ma, but Meya. So Meya should be a lower level than Ma. Yeah, but here we're saying Meya is the higher level. The Rebbe will bring out that actually Ma even has a higher level. It's a deeper level. It's even higher than the level of Meya. There is a Ma, there is a level of Yechida, a level of Ma, which is shaykh to bring about those connections from the Makiv and the Panimi, but there is a part of Ma Helam Ha'atzmi which is even higher than that. Let's look inside. Zayin, with Tzorich Lahavin. So we need to understand the Belimud Anal, the above the way we're learning it, is Bichdei Shema Malchus Memale. In order Ma, which is Malchus, which is Memale. Yiyah Meya, it should become 100, which is Arich Sevev. So you want to make Ma into Meya. Hualidei Ha'alef, that takes place through bringing in the Aleph, which is Atik. Achad v'lo b'chushban. You're taking in the Atik and you bring Shemesifim boy. So when you bring in the Atik into Ma, so you're able to bring it 100, it becomes 100. Abo Ma mitzad atzmei. But Ma by itself, meaning if you don't, before it has the Meya, Ein bo ha'inyan the Meya, doesn't have the idea of Meya, Ma itself. Gam le behela, it doesn't even have in an obscure hidden way. It's only Mamala. But the Rebbe wants to bring out Maloshan Razal, brought from the language of our sages of blessed memory. Al tikra ma elomeya shemeya who Akri Shalaksiv, that Meya is the pronunciation of the Ksiv, the Ma, that is the how you pronounce the Ma, the Ksivu Kri Halamegilu, because we know the written is the hidden, the obscure, and Kri is what you read, that's the revealed way. So the question is, Mashma, so it appears to be Ma Atzma Yesha Inyan de Meya, that in Ma itself, there is also the idea of Meya, even before you bring in the Aleph to, because it has to have Ma, because that's the Ksiv of the Kri, of the Meya, Shein the Meya. Elashu behelim, but it's hidden. So that's. Then the Rebbe asks another question. And the Rebbe wants to point out that when you talk about a level of love with Mesiras Nefesh, it's still not the ultimate level of Mesiras Nefesh, not the ultimate level of the Yechida. In Yechida itself, the Rebbe is going to show there is two levels, because when you love the Eibishter with Mesiras Nefesh, it's still a level of a Metzias, of a Odom, of the person, of the Neshama that loves. It's still a Metzias. But the real level of Mesiras Nefesh, Yechida, it doesn't even express itself in love. That's how the Rebbe explains why in the second parsha of Shema we don't have the level of B'chol Ma'idecha, which is the level of Mesiras Nefesh. We would seem that we should have Mesiras Nefesh even more, because the people are Shomer L'cha. There's a problem. We're going to do. They're going to violate. So you need more Mesiras Nefesh. So why don't we have the B'chol Ma'idcha? But there, the Rebbe explains that it's higher. That's not able. That level of Mesiras Nefesh is not even able to express itself in a level of love. So it cannot be La'avos Hashem Elekeichem b'chol levavchem b'chol nafshechem or b'chol ma'idchem. B'chol ma'idchem is not la'avo. It can't have that level, because we're talking a level of etzem nefesh which cannot even express itself on the level of love. Let's look inside. The Rebbe continues. Gam tzorich lahavim. We also need to understand. Mashe beparsha rishoyna nemar. The first parsha of Shema, it says, love Hashem with all these three levels. But in the second parsha, to love Levav, it doesn't say b'chol meidchem. The lechaire, it would seem, kiv on shebe parsha shniya medaber be'ela shetzorich lahazir oisam. We're talking about those people that you need to caution and warn them. Be careful, lest your heart is swayed. So we're talking about people that shaykh to do an avera. So it seems that in the second portion, it's more important, the idea of Mesiras Nefesh. And yet we don't find inyan the b'chol meidecha. So this idea of b'chol meidecha, which seems to be Mesiras Nefesh, which is necessary to overcome, as we said before, that for Baal Tshuva to overcome, we need one against the Yetzer Hara. You need this Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh, which is Mesiras Nefesh. Nemar beparsha Rishona Dafki is only in the parsha, the first parsha. The Rebbe will explain how that in the first parsha is Taka Mesiras Nefesh, but it's an Av of Mesiras Nefesh. It's a level of revelation of the Yechida, the way it's shaykhs to the level of Ava. But in our parsha, second parsha, we're talking even a higher level of Mesiras Nefesh, which can't express itself even in La'ava. V'yashloimar habir bazeh. So inyan de b'chol meidecha k'moishehu b'tzir de'ava. When we talk about b'chol meidecha Mesiras Nefesh, as it comes out in the shape, which means it's in a level of love, v'hafta b'chol meidecha goymer b'chol meidecha. You should love Hashem b'chol meidecha, which means Mesiras Nefesh they can love. So the Mesiras Nefesh expresses itself in love. Is kivon she'inyan ha'ava hu k'chol hamidis. Since the level of this Ava is just like all other emotions, which is the sense that he loves, it's still self. Elo sha'avi bligvul. So it's an Ava bligvul, but it's still a sense of self of the person who is loving the Eibishter, who hagilui the etzem haneshama. So here, Take, that's Mesiras Nefesh, is the etzem of the neshama. It's the yechida of the neshama, but it's the way the yechida of the neshama is shaykh legilui hergish. It's still connected to feeling. The avo shemitzad koiches hageluyim. And so what's the difference? So between the ava which comes from the revealed and the ava that comes from the etzem nefesh, from the yichida, it seems almost that you're saying now that the yichida is also a level of a hergish oyev. So there's a difference. The ava shemitzad koiches hagiluyim, the love that comes because of the revealed powers of the neshama, even included in this, when we're talking about koiches hagiluyim, we're including in it the la ava which comes because of makiv chaya, he magbola. It's a limited. Ava the bechol ma'odcha shu believable, but the ava which is with all your being, which is believable, he mitzad etzem neshama, k'moy shayeches legilui. So that is b'hagbola, the koiches from the level of chaya and nefesh ruach and uchal shama al b'hagbola, but the level of ava which comes mitzad yichida is l'mayla meshach legilu b'inyan. Mitzad etzem k'mosh shayeches legilui. Now, so that's the level. So even the level of Yechida, that's still in the level in which it connects to, has a shaykhus from the Etzem and Neshama, the way the Yechida has a connection to revelation to the rest of the neshama, to the Chai, to the Yechida and Nara. However, there is a higher level of Mesiras Nefesh. The Etzem HaNeshama, the way it's Bechlal, not Shaykhs to the revelation, to the other parts of the Neshama. Bagilui, the Etzem HaNeshama. Shalemayla Meshayachus Legilui, the revelation of the essence of the soul, which is above having any connection to Gilui, who be inyan hamesidas nefesh. So that's in the aspect of mesidas nefesh. The zeh shekol echad mi Yisrael gam kal shebekali meiser nafshe al kedushas Hashem. Because when you have a light amongst light ahead of him, he's going to give over his naf kiddush Hashem. It's not v'ahavta. It's not b'chol meidecha like in the first parsha. That's nothing. There's no ava there. The fact that the etzem haneshama of a kal shebekalim is ready to give himself of kiddush Hashem, that doesn't come because there's a sense of love there. Why are we saying this? Because he's giving over his life, not because that's what he wants. It's only it's only because he cannot separate himself, God forbid, from his unity. It's not a positive, it's not a mitzias. It's just he's not able not to be separated from Hashem. So that's the kal shebekalim. But here we're going to apply this in the observance of Torah mitzvahs of every Yid. Similarly, is as it relates to fulfilling all the 630 mitzvahs, shal yidei zchiras inyan hamesiras nefesh, which is through remembering the idea of mesiras nefesh. So the la'achrei shemizboine v'nirgash, it's not the level of love that achrei shemizboine v'nirgash atzlai, that after he reflects and he feels shal yidei kol aveira nase nifred magdusi yizborach. No matter which Aveda, every Aveda he does, he becomes separated from Hashem's blessed unity. Just as if he serves Aveda Zorah. Aveda Zorah, it's obvious that he's doing against Hashem, but he needs to reflect that even when he does a regular, any Aveda, he's still separating from Hashem, just like Aveda Zorah. So why? So why is he not doing the Aveda? It's not because his great love, but That's why, because he cannot separate himself, God forbid, from the Eibishter's unity. That's the Mesiras Nefesh that we're talking about in the second parsha. A Mesiras Nefesh, which is not based on love. It's not V'ahavta b'chol ma'idecha. We're talking about the etzem mitzias of the neshama, the essence of the neshama, which a person cannot be separated from Hashem's blessed unity. And that's why in the second parsha of Shema, it doesn't say b'chol ma'idecha. How does the person protect himself not to fall into the persuasion of his heart? That's not through a love of B'chol Meidach. That is by mentioning remembering Mesiras Nefesh, which means you can't be separated from Hashem, not out of love. Therefore, there's no la'ava there. Al Tzivah Hashem. That's why you cannot transgress the Tzivah Hashem, is because the Etzem HaNeshama does not allow for a person to be separated from Hashem. So it's not in a level of Ava. So V'zehu, and this is the meaning of Va'ata Yisrael, Mohavai Lekecha Shoyel Me'imach. So what the Pasuk says. So now, Mo Havaya Lekecha Shoyel Me'imach. Eibishter wants from you Ma is Mahu Bittel. Ma is Bittel. Eibishter wants Bittel. V'kemoi v'nachnu Mo. Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron said, what are we? When they said, Ma is Bittel. Who? Habitl Atzmi Shemitzad Etzem HaNeshama. So here we're talking about the highest levels of Bitl, this highest level of the essence of the neshama even higher within Yechida, not Yechida as is, but it's the essence of the neshama. So what are we supposed to do with that bitl of the etzem neshama? So what does it mean? What the Hashem is asking Ma? So Hashem Alikecha shoyel me'imach habitl the Ma. He wants from you that bitl of Ma of the etzem haneshama. But we just said that every yid has that bitl of etzem haneshama. That's the etzem haneshama there. But we want that etzem habitl to start functioning. Vagam shebitl zeh shemitzad etzem haneshama. He told me bishleimus that bitl is always whole. Harei habitl the ma'ash yeshne v'kolechad v'echad misrol. But that level of etzem haneshama bitl that each and every one of the yidden has, hu behelim, it's hidden. And when we talk about helim, it's not because something is blocking it. It's not because the nefesh habamis. It's in essence, it's a helim dike part of the neshama. It's not just because the animal soul blocks it, obscures it. But in essence, it's hidden. Because that level of the etzem haneshama is higher than revelation. So what is Hashem asking you? The Eibishter asks of you to reveal that level of etzem haneshama. And in this request that the Eibishter asks us to reveal the Ma, there's two aspects. Legalis es hama, to reveal the Ma kemoshu aides chidas inyan hamasidas nefesh, by remembering, as the Rebbe explained just before, the idea of masidas nefesh, which is the etzem haneshama. This is the etzem, the highest level, even higher, the higher level that the Rebbe just explained. Remembering masidas nefesh is not a level of ava. That's like in the second parsha. That's the level of no love, but can't be separated from Hashem. That's one level. That's the level of the essence of the neshama. But gam legalis oisali de meya brachas, but also to bring it down to the 100 brachas, which is megala, the level of yichida, which has a connection. So to have these 100 brachas, so when we say Shואel מעמך מה meya, hachibur de bechinas chayim bechinas naran, we're talking about the connecting the chaya with the level of naran. Shayidei zeh mizgale hama de bechinas yichida. That reveals, because in order to bring down, that reveals the ma of the level of yichida. So the hergish of the etzem hanefesh, and then also the ma, which brings the yichida. Ki bichdei sheyiyah achibur. The makif upanimi udavka the etzem. We said before, how could you connect the level of chaya with naran? It comes through the level of yichida of the neshama. So now we understand mashemeya hu akridama. Now we understand why meya becomes the reading of ma, and ma is even higher. Kabitul the ma shemitzad etzem haneshama, because the bittul of ma, which is the essence of the neshama, hu bechinas helam shalamayla megili. That is the level which is helam, which is higher than gilu, which is the level of ksiv. That's written may, the ma. The ma is the essence of bittul of the etzem haneshama. Umeya is hachibur the chaya in naran. So meir is the chibur of the chaya, the level of chaya the neshama with the nefesh ruach neshama shenase al yidei gilui etzem haneshama, which becomes through the revelation of the etzem haneshama. Hu hagilui kri dema, that becomes the gilui of the kri of ma, because the ma itself is the etzem haneshama, which is higher than gilui. And the kri is mayo, that this is the connection which chai within Aran. But this is bechlal to bring out the etzem haneshama, the level of yichida, to bring out that ma, because ma is etzem higher. But the Rebbe is going to bring out now not stam the etzem haneshama, but the etzem haneshama, as we just spoken, which is even higher than the yichida, higher than the level of ava. V'yesh lahaisif shegam ha'alev dema b'chinas hayichida shal yoda nasa chibur dechayin daran. That this aleph of ma, which we said, that what brings out the connection of Meya, to make Ma Meya, is through the level of Aleph, the level of Yechida, B'chinas HaYechida, Shal Yoda Nasa Chibur D'Chaim Naran, Ulemato M'B'chinas Ma, because that's still lower than the level of Ma itself. The Aleph in Ma is the level of Atik Taka, it's the level of Yechida, but it's still not the level of Ma De'etzem. Ki b'chinas haYechida shal yoda nasa chibur dechayin naran, because that level in Yechida, which brings the connection of the Chayim Naran, which is the Aleph de Meya, which is the Altikra Ma'ala Meya, which brings to the level of Chayim Naran, and the level of Yechida, who etzem sheshayich l'koich sagilim. That's the etzem as it has a connection to the Giluim. But va'bitl de ma, and the bitl of ma is even higher than that. Who mitzad etzem haneshama shalamaylu meshayches l'gilu. As the Rebbe just explained before, that's the level of bitl of the etzem haneshama, which is higher than having a connection to gilu. So basically, the Rebbe explained that in the etzem haneshama itself, in the level of the yichida of the neshama, you have a yichida, the way it's shayches l'gilu, that can bring about the connection of the level of chaya with naran that comes through the etzem haneshama. That would be the aleph of meya. So again, aleph is the level of yechida, but we have a higher level than that. We have the etzem haneshama, which is not shayches legilu. That's the ma itself. That's the ksiv. And on that you have the Kri, you have the Aleph, which is the level of Yechida, or the level of Atik in Spheres. And that allows for, that Aleph brings about the connection between the Meya and the Ma, the Shlemus, the level of Seviv and the Memale in the Neshama. But then we have the level of Ma itself, which is higher than even having a Shaykhs Legilu. So basically, it seems that these are two levels within the Yechida. In level of Yechida, which is Etzem HaNeshama, which is Shaykhs Legilu, and you have Etzem HaNeshama, which is higher than Shaykhs Legilu. Vayidei sheYisrael memalin bakoshes HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And through the Yidden fulfilling the Eibishter's request, the Eibishter asks us the two things. He asks us for basically the level of, as the Rebbe said before, one thing is that there should be the level of Mesiras Nefesh. You'll get the level of Yechida and Mesiras Nefesh. It comes out that Mesiras Nefesh, Zechidas Mesiras Nefesh, is a higher level. It's not even dressed up in an Ava. So the Ava B'chol Meidecho, that's the level of Yechida which has a Shaykhis, and the Parsha Shniya, that's a higher level of Yechida. These are the two things which are included in the Eibishter's request. Both the level of Mesiras Nefesh and the level of Al Tikra Me'il Ma'ad, both levels of Yechida. I guess the Yechida which is Shaykhis Legilu and the Yechidas which is higher than Gilu. V'alidei sheYisrael memalim Akosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the Yidden fulfilling Hashem's request, Li Galis Hamad Neshama B'Shnei Afanim Anal, to reveal the Ma of the Neshama in the two ways. One is through Mesiras Nefesh, remembering. One is to saying Atikra through the Meya Brachas. So in these two ways, Gilu Hama Atzmei K'moshu L'maylo Mitzir. The Gilu Hama itself, as it's higher than the shape, it's not even in level of Abba. By Gilu Shloi K'moshu Nimshach Lifel B'madreges HaProtius, and it's Gilu as it functions in the specific detail about Neshama, Nefesh Ruch Neshama Chaya, to get the Chaya to be in the Nefesh Ruch Neshama. Hashem shall fulfill the request of the Yidden, both the general request and the general and essence request that we're talking about, the Achas Shalti. Here we're saying in the davening already, starting in Chodesh Elul, that this is in Shabbos Mevorchim Chodesh Elul, that the general Achas Shalti K'moshi Mitzad Atzma, as it's on itself, the highest level of Achas, Shifti B'Beis Hashem Kol Yimei Chaye. Sitting, we're saying one thing, being in the house of Hashem. Without this, is just asking one thing. The Chayra is asking one thing, but there's many things enumerated here. But he's asking, in one level, is the level of Achas by itself. And then, Begam K'mosher Meshachas become a Pratim. He goes in details, many details. Lachzus B'nayim Hashem, to see in the pleasantness of Hashem, Levake B'choli, to visit his home, B'chulu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Noisam B'kol Echad V'echad M'Yisrael. Eibishter gives each and every one of the Ksivach Sematova be written and sealed for the good, Lashon Tova Mesukah, a good and a sweet year, physically and spiritually below 10 Tvachim. This all we gained is from Eibishter.